the glorious game of Dead by Daylight, there are perks that are really good but so overshadowed due to the fact they require a difficult or strange way to get value out of them. In today's video, I will be talking about the top 10 most underrated Survivor perks and going over why they are this way, and why you should use them more frequently. If you guys enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below what you agree or disagree. With that out of the way, let's get straight into it. Majority of people say this perk is a joke, but in reality it's very beneficial. The perk I'm talking about is Borrowed Time, and is very good for anti-tunneling. Borrowed Time gives you an extra 10 seconds of haste and endurance, which is great for wasting the killer's time. And if you're wondering how it's a waste of time, they hit you after 10 seconds are up, only to see you running away because of the extra seconds left on endurance. Of course, the other player can bring Decisive Strike off the record or Dead Hard, but if you want to play a little more casual, I do think Borrowed Time is a great perk. You can also bring Babysitter, adding 10% haste and aura rating to completely evade the killer entirely. Keep in mind, the player who is unhooked receives this effect, not vice versa. Also, I highly recommend this perk for new players because it is free. This perk is for solo queue purposes specifically, but it can also be used in a Swift Survivor with friends. Strength in Shadows is a very nice perk to have, since you can heal yourself at 70% speed while being in a safe space, the basement. I understand having a medkit is better, but if you decide to bring a toolbox or a flashlight, this is where it truly matters. Not to mention, this allows you to see the killer's aura after you have fully healed yourself, unless it is a stealth killer. The downside of this perk though, is you have to know where the basement is in the first place. Also, some people may find you before you even reach the basement. For a long time, self-preservation was one of the worst perks in the game, but ever since it got a rework in the Trickster update, the perk now gives you elusive for 30 seconds when someone is hooked, meaning the killer cannot see your aura, scratch marks, pools of blood, and hear your grunts of pain. This completely counters barbecue and chili, and even nowhere to hide. I'm not sure why people don't seem to run this, as it completely shrouds you from danger without even trying. Distortion competes with this perk, as it can activate whenever the killer uses aura reading, but self-preservation hides everything, not just aura. If the killer does not see you physically with their eyes, you can heal yourself, cleanse a hex totem, save someone on hook, or be working on a generator and get away with it for half a minute. While those last four may be specific interactions, it still completely counters aura rating perks. Now this one feels like most players use this already, but actually don't. Up next is For the People, which allows the player to sacrifice a health state onto someone else instantly. The downside being, you become broken after using it. I feel as if no one uses this perk for 3 reasons. 1, it requires skill. 2, it could be extremely risky. And 3, many players resort to basic healing perks such as Botany Knowledge and will make it. This perk needs to be used at the right time, or else your whole team may die due to inconvenience. One way most people use this perk is when someone is down and they pick them up immediately. The reason We're Going to Live Forever is used more than this perk is because it's safer. But does it have as much value as For the People? Well, that's just a maybe. It depends on the situation, but regardless, For the People is an extremely good pick. A good amount of people call this the worst exhaustion perk in the game, or the most underrated, and since you already know what this video is about, Overcome is heavily underrated. Running for an extra 2 seconds after you've been hit doesn't seem like a lot, but it actually is. This can make it so you run to a loop or filler even faster. What this perk is designed to do is gain distance, which is fantastic. You can also run away from a dead zone, which is just incredible. This effect can also maybe make the killer give up on you, since you are already pretty much across the map by the time they are done wiping their weapon clean. The only downside is you have to get hit, whereas with Sprint Burst and Lithe, you don't. Vittorio is one of those survivors whose perks are so unique and interesting. While 2 of them may be niche, Fogwise is not. Fogwise is extremely simple but effective. Whenever you hit a great skill check on a generator, you see the killer's aura for 6 seconds. So, anytime you are progressing more and more into the game, you periodically see where the killer is. Even better, when you're gen rushing with Hyperfocus and Stakeout, 2 of the most used perks used right now in this meta, this is rewarding you for doing the objective. And the amount of info you can call out to your teammates is awesome. This is also such an amazing perk for solo queue as well, since when you hit the skill check, you can either pre-run or stay where you are and not have a care in the world. And speaking of info, Poised is such an amazing information perk to tell you who the killer even is when the match starts. Poised gives you the aura of the killer when you first start working on a generator for 8 seconds. And after you or anybody finishes any generator, you leave no scratch marks for 30 seconds. The info is great, and the scratch marks can really help out in desperate times. I love how when I use this perk, I could say where the killer is going and who it even is. The whole idea is to know if you are safe and where the killer is when you're about to get on a generator, which is fantastic and so underrated that more people should use this. When Trevor Belmont first released, I, alongside many players, were disappointed to see what his personal perks were. But as time went on, one perk stood out from all the others, which is Exaltation. What this does is it allows the person to upgrade their item to the next tier after stunning the killer with a pallet, as well as adding 75% charges to said item. The reason why this is good is because you can use this item a lot more than you usually can, whether it be a flashlight, a toolbox, or a medkit. This perk is heavily overshadowed by Built to Last because that perk is very easy to use compared to this one, requiring you to be chased. When the killer camps a survivor, it's pretty devastating, but what if I told you this perk can fix that completely? Our number 2 spot is Reassurance. Reassurance can completely flip a killer's plan for getting a player out the game via camping. What this does is, when you are near the person on hook, you can reassure them and pause their hook timer for 30 whole seconds. This even applies to someone on second hook, which is even better so they don't have to worry about the skill checks. Just like Dead Hard, Unbreakable, and Decisive, this perk can actually save your games. The only problem is, it is hard to use in solo queue as players can be unpredictable with saving others. If underrated were a perk, this one would be it. The number 1 underrated perk in all of Dead by Daylight is No One Left Behind. This perk activates when all generators are completed. When it is activated, you unhook and heal players 100% faster. Unhooking them gives them 10% extra haste, and you see the auras of every survivor permanently. You can unhook people 100% faster, and that is the reason why this perk is incredible. Not to mention, you can reset like it's nothing. So if a killer is camping the hook, it's no problem at all. No One Left Behind is quite possibly the best endgame perk in all of Dead by Daylight, and I believe it is the most underrated.